Hey guys, in this week's video, I'm going to be sharing one of my Blitz games. And normally I don't present my Blitz games because they're usually not of very high quality, but I thought this game had a lot of instructive points in it. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay, guys, what I'm going to show you here today is a Blitz game I played a couple weeks ago on the Internet Chess Club. Normally, I don't show Blitz games because the quality of the games aren't that great, but I thought played a solid game, but more importantly, had a few instructive points to it. So I'm going to show it to you and point out things that I think were important to show you today. Okay, so we start out with my opponent playing e4. I'm playing black here, and I go into e6, the French defense. And you've seen me play this before. I am working on some other openings against e4, but right now the French works well, but uh, that might be something in the future that we can look at some new openings. Okay, d4 is played. d5, there's the French, and he plays knight to c3. I am working on the knight to f6, which is the classical variation, but here I go into the tried and true Rubinstein variation, and he takes on e4, which is all standard, and I play knight to d7. Plays knight to f3, and I play knight gf6, which is also pretty standard here so far. So I'm going to kind of keep moving here. Bishop to g5 and h6, putting the question to the bishop. Now, he takes here first with the knight, which is actually one of the theoretical moves. It's fine. I take back here, and then he takes here with the bishop, and I take back here with the queen. So here, things are pretty even. The queen does, can be a little offside here on f6, but then again, white had just given us the two bishops, which is fine. But overall, theoretically, this position is about even. Okay, bishop to c4, and this is actually the first novelty in this position. Seems like a fairly logical move, but has never been played in grandmaster or master level chess, according to the Chess Tempo database, which and but is not a horrible move. Normally, just to show you here, bishop to b5 check is played, and then after c6, the bishop comes back to d3 and bishop to d6. This line has been played about 100 times in my. Okay, let's go back to c4. Here I play a6 so that my opponent can't play that bishop check anymore. And sometimes there's ideas of playing b5 followed by bishop to 7. So my opponent plays a4 to prevent that idea, and I strike out with c5. So this is a typical pawn lever in the Rubinstein, and the idea here is that if he takes on c5, I can take back with the bishop and develop my bishop. Okay. Well, he protects it with c3. Now here, a good line would have been to take here. Oh, would have been after c3 would have been to take on d4. Okay, instead of what I played in the game. I'll show you in a second. After knight takes d4, bishop to c5 is a good move, and then after both sides castle, we have about an even game. Okay, but instead let's go back here. I played b6. The idea here is simply to develop this bishop here, and if he takes here, I would take back with the bishop. Okay, so far so good. However, and again, it is a blitz game, so I did not foresee this move here, d5. Okay, after d5, I had to make a decision because I was threatening to either take here on e6 or to push it to d6. So I have to decide how I'm going to handle this. Taking on d5, I figured was kind of bad because after queen takes d5, although he can't check me right now, he's attacking my rook. After my rook moves, he gets a lot of initiative here with this knight. He gets a lot of pressure in on. Didn't want to really, in a 5-minute game, didn't really have time to wade through those calculations. But even for a longer game, might not be the best thing to do. So I did do a little analysis here. Bishop to d6, trying to develop and get my king castled. But queen to c6 check, bishop to d7, knight takes d7, rook takes d7. Now white wins a pawn. He can take here on b6, or more simply, take here on a6 with the idea of coming back here with his bishop and attacking the rook. Okay, so that is why I didn't take on 5. And instead, I played e5. Now, this might not be the most optimal move. It's definitely it's a solid move. But the idea here is I'm going to blockade this pawn now. He can't advance it right away because I can just take it. And so I'm just going to blockade it and kind of shut out his bishop. Okay. After queen to e2, I play bishop to d6. And now you can see here this pawn is blocking his bishop. So he castles, I castle. And now in this position, he had an interesting move here. He had knight to d2 with the idea of setting up this outpost here. Okay, that probably would have been the best move. Instead, he plays rook up to e1. Again, with the idea here, putting pressure here. He's got 3 attackers. I've got 2 defenders. Now, I can add another defender with rook to e8. And that probably would have been okay. But I actually like the move I played better, which is bishop to g4. So now that this pawn is, I'm kind of using it as a shield to block his bishop. I can't put my bishop here because my bishop won't be doing anything. So I actually play it out here to g4. And then he gets his queen out of the pin. And here, if we assess this position, I would say it's about even. And the move I make here, bishop takes f3. The idea here now is that I'm kind of locking in that even game. I guess I could try to find a more dynamic move that keeps the bishop on. But here I have an opportunity to double his pawns and continue my pressure on that way. So here he plays, he takes f3, and part of the idea here during the game, and because it's a blitz game, more intuition than calculation, was that at some point I want to move this pawn up and attack his king. And his king will be more vulnerable if he doesn't have this pawn here, which he could just play g3. So that was part of my reasoning behind taking here on f3. Besides just because if you just look at let's go back a move. If he takes back with the queen and we exchange, he does have these doubled pawns. But typically, when you have bishops of opposite color, it's typically very drawish, and these doubled pawns, although they are a structural weakness, are not very. It's very hard for me to get at them, and so probably this game with best play would probably end in a draw. Okay, going back though, he did take here with the g pawn, and now I bring my rook over to protect this pawn. Okay, now here my opponent plays king to h1. The idea being to bring this rook over and put pressure here on the g file. What might have been a little better, again, this is not a horrible move, but what it might have been a little better, I did some analysis here, would be to play bishop to d3. Basically, with this pawn here, this bishop's not going to get any range or activity without repositioning to a different diagonal. So that would be a better move. And then from here, I could go ahead and play my idea here, because otherwise, if I don't play e4 now, you can just put his bishop here and just blockade this pawn, and so now I have the same problem that he had. So I play e4, sacrificing a pawn, or this is the analysis after bishop to d3. F takes e4, and here actually have an interesting tactic. So what I want to do here is play rook to e5 to be able to activate this rook and swing it over to this file here. But I can't. If I do it right away, then he plays f4. Okay? And then after I move my rook, then he's going to fork my bishop and my queen. So what I found in analysis was another pretty interesting, a pawn sacrifice. It's e4. Okay, and after he takes, pretty much no reason not to take. Now I play rook to e5 because if he tries to play f4 now, I have this pin on his queen and king. Okay, so that was the idea. That was kind of a neat little thing I found in analysis here. That pawn sacrifice with c4. Now let's just evaluate this position. After c4, bishop takes c4, rook to e5. Then we can say this position, although he has, let's see here, he has a couple extra pawns. I have a very dynamic position. I can bring my other rook in. This rook's going to swing over to the g file or the h file, and I have a nice build up of forces, a nice initiative. But I think it almost fully compensates for the 2 pawns. Okay. However, that's not what was played in the game, but this is a good reason to analyze because you get a lot of ideas from analyzing your games. Let's go back to the game. King to h1. And here I play e4. Again, sacrificing this pawn. Now, here he cannot play f4 because he's just going to lose this pawn. So he takes, accepting the sacrifice. And here I play queen to h4. Of course, threatening checkmate here. Now, my opponent, what he could have played here was f4, giving back the pawn. After bishop takes f4, queen to g1 here to protect. Rook to e5, we saw that idea earlier. Rook to e2, adding another defender, and then I can just bring in either bring in another rook here to put pressure here, or swing my rook over, and I've got quite a little bit of quite an attack going. Probably if he had played, this is still probably about even, but I have a nice little pressure here. However, so that was if he played f4 here to stop this mating threat. Instead, what he does was worse. He plays h3. Okay? And what I want you to do right here is pause the video and see if you could figure out what I played next. Okay, right here, the game's almost over because I played rook takes. Okay, and hope you can see what's about to happen here. After I basically solved the rest of the game here, the next 3 or 4 moves ahead. If he he takes the rook in the game, but you can see here if he tries to, he has to protect this h3 pawn. If he tries to move to f3, then I can just take his bishop. Okay, of course here he cannot move to g3 because of my bishop. So he takes my rook, and hope you saw the rest of the combination. This is an important mating combination. I'm not sure if I have it on the channel, but I've actually played this about 2 or 3 times in blitz games. This exact mating combination in blitz games over the last year. So from here, you go queen to h3 check, and after king to g1, you do not play queen to h2 check. Instead, you play queen or bishop to h2 check because that forces the king back to h1. King goes to h1, and then bishop to g3 check basically leads to mate in 2. My opponent resigned here, but I'll just show you the rest of the combination. After king to g1, queen to h2 check, and after king to f1, queen takes f2 is mate. So just keep that combination in your back pocket because I've actually, like I said, I played it a few times, and even the threat of it, it shows you the power of the bishop and the queen working together against the king, but also shows you the importance of keeping your king safe. So let's go back over a couple of the most important positions in today's game. Okay, this is the first position. Just want to do a quick review of, and we did a lot of the analysis, so I'm not going to repeat all of it here. But the idea here is that recognizing the importance of this. This is what we would call a critical moment. I mentioned that in my video on time management, avoiding time trouble. But this would be if you weren't playing a blitz game and you had this type of position, when your opponent advances that d5 pawn, you want to take your time to assess what you need to do, because as you saw in the variations that I shared, it can get very complex, depending on the solution you decide to go with. So the move I made, e5, not only does it happen to be one of the better moves, and I think served me well, but also it was a good practical move because further analysis shows that taking on d5 would not be a losing move, but it was much more complex and many more places for me to go wrong than just playing e5. So recognize those moments in your game when you need to take that time, and also think about complexity of your variations. And sometimes you have to play practically, not always try to find the very try to and you can't sometimes you can't analyze super deeply in a game with specific time control. Okay, the second review position that I wanted to go over was this one here, where I made the choice to sacrifice this pawn. Um, Something that I've noticed in my game, sort of going from, say, 1650, 1700 up to 100 and plus, is um, the necessity as well as the skill of learning when to sacrifice pawns, particularly when you want to open lines. And maybe I'll do a video on these pawn levers sometime. But the idea here is that I could have played more solidly, for example, not sacrificed a pawn, but then could have uh, blockaded this with bishop to d3 and bishop to e4 at some point. So playing this pawn sacrifice was necessary for me to with the initiative that I had in the game. Okay, finally, I wanted to go over that mating combination one more time. I'm not sure if it has an official name, but like I said, it's fairly common. I played it a couple times this year already. So let me show it to you one more time here. So queen to h3. The all these moves are forced. The king has to go to g1, and the important part of this is this bishop to h2 check. Okay, king has to go back to h1, and that gives us discovery. Bishop to g3 check, and after the king goes to g1, we're going to go queen h2 check. King to f1 is forced, of course, and then the f2 is mate. So again, burn that pattern into your mind, and let me know if you actually use it in a game. This knowledge applied. Okay, hope you enjoyed the game, and I'll talk to you soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button, and that lets me know that I'm doing something right in the right direction here. If you're new to this channel, Better Chess Training, I put out weekly videos with the goal of helping you improve your chess. So if that's something you're trying to do, uh, hit that subscribe button and hit the notifications buttons too. I think it's either here or up there. I'm not sure which direction this video is going to be in, but hit that little bell so you can get notifications of my future videos. Want to thank my subscribers. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for engaging in the comments. I really enjoy our conversations. And finally, just want a quick thank you to my patrons. Your support motivates me to make better videos and put out this content consistently. So if you want to check patronage out, it is optional, of course, but the link to my Patreon page is in the description below. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day. Good luck with your chess, and I will see you next week.